This is former All-Pro Dolphins lineman Richmond Webb, and you're listening to The Grueling Truth.
Welcome to The Grueling Truth's NFL Legends Show, brought to you by Gridiron Mo, a new football app, interactive football app, where you get to call what you think the offense or defense should do during a live NFL game and see what all other fans have called also. Check out Gridiron Mo at www.gridironmo.com. I'm your host for the Legends Show, Mike Goodpaster, and I want to welcome in my co-host, 49er superfan, Matt Andruscavage.
Thanks for that intro, Mike. It's always good to be here. And yes, I am a 49er superfan, excited about our guest tonight.
All right, our guest tonight was, of course, a 49er, which is why you're excited. Helped him to 3 Super Bowl championships. Offensive lineman, one of the better offensive linemen of the late 80s, early 90s. Help me welcome to the show, former San Francisco 49er, Steve Wallace.
Okay, thank you, guys. Glad to be a part of it.
All right, now
thanks for being here.
I know from what I read that you started playing football in middle school, or you played football in middle school. How did you get started playing football?
Well, everybody starts in the backyard, just kind of goofing off, going out, emulating some of the catches and the throws, doing a lot of the things that you see on television. You know, my guy was like Steve Grogan. Let me think. Some of the good quarterback. Well, I mean, he was that running type quarterback back in the day. You go out, or a great receiver, great running back, Chuck Foreman, and just a lot of guys. And you go out and try to do that. But for me, it was unusual. I didn't get a chance to play at an early age because I was too big, too heavy. And so I went to several parks, and they denied me. They wouldn't let me play. They were like, you don't fit on our weight limit scale. You'd have to play with guys that are 12 and you're only 9. So I eventually had to wait to middle school before I got a chance to play. And then with that, you're not as good as from with technique and the fundamentals and all of that. But, at the same time, you just want to play the game. So you go out there and you just want to wrestle folks and try to figure it out. And by the end of the first year out there, my 8th grade year, I started to put it together.
Now, you went to Chamblee High School. You want to tell us a little bit about that and your favorite memories there?
Yeah, when I went there, we weren't winning games, and so I went with a good group of guys, and that was just hard players, hard-nosed players. We went there and we got after it, got after opponents. A great story about me in high school is that I call it watching the damn game, and what I mean by that is my 11th grade year when I really started to get good, and had a lot of scouts coming, UCLA, Wisconsin, Michigan, Ohio State, Auburn, Georgia, Florida, a lot of those schools. And my coaches didn't think I was playing up to par. So I did the same thing those college scouts did, basically sit on the sideline. I watched the damn game, which would make a lot of folks mad. My dad was like, well, son, hey, you haven't made a tackle in about a week or two, so you play the game to make tackles. And with that, it got my attention. And that part right there started, I took note. And from that point on, I said, for the rest of my life, if I play the game of football, I will play hard so I won't get demoted. I mean, as we see now, Peyton Manning got demoted. Joe Montana got demoted for a couple games. Colin Kaepernick. And my whole thing, as long as I played the game of football, I would play as hard as I could possibly play because I never wanted that situation reoccurring.
All right, now you played. Oh, go ahead. Sorry about this, Steve.
Okay, and I was just going to say as well, we also, in 3 years there, we were 28-2 in the regular season and lost first round every year. And 1 year we were ranked number 1 in the state. And every year we blew it in the first round. And so we never got out of the first round. But we We had 9-1 season my sophomore year, 9-1 my junior year, 10-0, and then we always lost in the first round.
Well, see, right now, I want to stop Matt Andruscavage because, Steve, I'm a Bengals fan, and I know he's going to make some snide remark about losing in the first round. And how
I wasn't going to say anything.
Oh, yeah. That's kind of what's going on. Yeah, absolutely. That's what's kind of going on there. I mean, with the quarterbacks, receivers, AC Green, AJ Green, I think it is, and but Marvin Lewis. I mean, they always find a way to just stumble in the first round.
All right, we don't need to talk about this stuff anymore,
okay.
Steve. And in 1982, you chose to go to Auburn. Played under the legendary coach Pat Dye. 1982 was Pat's second year. The team turned around from a 5-6 record to a 9-3, won the Tangerine Bowl. What was your relationship like with Pat, and what did he do to change the culture of the team?
Oh God, I mean, he came there and he was he was under that Bear Bryant tree, and they learned everything from Coach Bear Bryant over there at Alabama. Came in there hard-nosed, and by him just being a young, unknown coach, he wanted to outdo Coach Bryant over there at Alabama. So he made sure that we're going to out-hit everybody, we're going to outwork everybody. And, heck, man, I mean, we had pro scouts come to practice, and they were just like, my God, I've never seen a team work like that. And, heck, I didn't know any different. So the bottom line, we just had great work ethics. We hit all the time. And you had to literally just put your mind that I'm just going to give it my all. Whatever happens, happens. But we're going to out-hit folks. We're going to outplay folks. Had a great freshman that came in at the same time, a guy by the name of Bo Jackson, who wound up being a tremendous player for Auburn, and had a great group of guys. And so I was one of the young guys my freshman year. I started a few games at the end of the year and started to help out a great deal and contribute. And with that, if you've seen a photo of Bo on going over the top, I'm the young 17-year-old freshman on the bottom. And so I played a great deal that season. Sophomore got better. Junior was up for a lot of honors, and then I had knee surgery. Tore my knee up at University of Florida State, and then things got better, had a great senior year, and Bo eventually went on to win the Heisman, so things were really starting to pick up for me.
Well, by the end of your time at Auburn, you got drafted by the 49ers in the fourth round in 1986. What was your draft day like, and what was your reaction when you were drafted by the 49ers?
My draft day was miserable. Only thing I can say is that Mel Kiper Jr. knows his stuff. And what I mean by that, Mel Kiper Jr., looking back at that draft, had me going all day long, number 17. Now, you said fourth-round pick. Think about that. It had me going the 17th player in the draft. And at that point, I was only 21, and so I was still there again, a young kid. And with that, and I kept falling back. So 49ers come up with a pick in the first round, and I'm thinking maybe it may be them because Seattle picks another guy. They pick all these different linemen. And so I'm getting kind of nervous by the end of the first round. And then I get a call from San Francisco saying, we'll probably pick you up in the second round if you go that far. So I'm getting excited. Got a group of maybe 5 folks in the room with me, television news cameras in the room with a local Auburn station. And so I'm getting very excited about it. And at this point, 49ers come up in the second round. And I'm thinking, this is it. They've already called me. I'm getting ready to get drafted. And so then they picked Larry Roberts because they traded back. I'm sorry, they had a first-round pick. They traded back and kept trading back. And then they picked Larry Roberts. I'm thinking, man, God, I hate the 49ers. I hate that team. I'm going to show them when I get there. if I had to play against them, and then the local team, the Atlanta Falcons, I was like, man, if I ever play against the Falcons, I just want to play hard. I want to kill them every year I play them. And then Denver Broncos, another team that, started calling and saying that, hey, we'd like to get you. And then Denver comes up, and then they make a trade to get a good cornerback, Mike Hayes, and he played for him in the Super Bowl. And then they go into the second round in, and so I'm thinking, my God, what's going to happen? I mean, here I was, a potential first-round guy, and then Mel Kiper comes on and goes, well, this guy, he failed a lot of teams' physical. And, at this point, my mom and everybody's calling me and saying, dude, what have you been doing? I mean, and then I found out that I had a broken bone in my wrist, my knee from surgery, hurt myself at Florida State, went pretty bad. And so, everything's going wrong and going crazy. To find out that you fail most of the team physicals because of the injuries. And then the third round comes, and then the 49ers get Tom Rathman and John Taylor. So we're really starting to pick up. But at the same time, I'm pretty mad because, I'm constantly hearing that I'm going to get picked. And by this time, I'm rolling on the floor. My stomach is burning. I'm nervous as ever, and I'm just like, that's okay. I hope nobody drafts me. I'll show everybody that they're going to get a heck of a player. And then the fourth round comes, and the 49ers still don't get me. And that because the third round, they got Tim McKay, John Taylor, and Tom Rathman. So that was some guys that was a lot of rings right there. And by this point, the fourth round comes, and the 49er picks a knucklehead guy as in Charles Haley. And I'm thinking, like, man, some guy from James Madison. And so things are really going crazy. Then I finally get picked, and Kevin Fagan gets picked. So all of these guys make the team, and then we had another guy, Don Griffin, and so they got drafted in the sixth round. And it wound up being maybe the third or fourth greatest draft without, and this is the only one without a first-round draft pick, maybe 15, 20 rings, Super Bowl rings, and that, Charles got 5, I got 3, and, a lot of those other guys got at least 2. And then I go to San Francisco, and the first person to meet you, Bill Walsh. And I was mad. I didn't want to shake his hand, and he saw me, and I was kind of ticked. And at this point, he's looking at me, and he's just like, don't worry about it. We're just glad to have you here. And with that handshake, it just changed everything. I was just like, man, wow. That was Bill Walsh that just shook my hand. I can't believe it. And so it just, everything I went through in the draft, by the time I got to San Francisco, it erased absolutely everything. I was totally excited about being a 49er. And then you guys will love this. And 1 minute later, a guy by the name of Ronnie Lott comes up and shakes my hand. He says, Steve Wallace, I know about you. You blocked for that guy down there, Bo Jackson. You're going to make our team. You're going to help us out in a big way. I'm thinking, like, I just shook Ronnie Lott's hand. So I run to the locker room, get on the phone. And, at this time, they didn't too much have cell phones. So I call my dad and go, man, can you believe Ronnie Lott just shook my hand? Bill Wall just shook my hand. Man, I'm going to be a Niner. I'm just happy. I'm excited to be here. And, then we were laughing about us a lot different than I felt on draft day.
All right, 1986, your rookie season. You're playing behind Bubba Paris and another longtime starter, Keith Fawnhorst. What was your rookie season like, and was there anybody who took you under their tutelage to help you acclimate to the professional game?
Oh, Bubba did, for sure. I mean, he was like, this is going to be the guy that perhaps one day is going to take my job. And I never looked at it like that, never thought. I just wanted to be a 49er player, and I wanted to be a part of the team, and I just couldn't see it that far ahead, that I wanted to be a starter. I wanted to play. And then I was a backup to both sides, Bubba and Keith. And Keith was an awesome guy, too. And with that, then I think if they got hurt during the season, it was just a few plays. and then I got to come in and play sparingly and play against my Atlanta Falcons. And so it was neat because I went out there and I was just hyper and eager, and I was playing against these guys. I was like, "You're such and such, man. I've been watching you since I was a kid." And then those guys are like, "Well, dude, stop running around banging us." And I mean, because I had so much energy, I was just hitting guys. It didn't matter. I was just playing against I just want to hit somebody. And at the end of the game, when 49ers would probably win by 20, 30 points. And they were just like, "Man, let's just get this over with and go home." And I'm all over the field. But it was pretty exciting, and got mostly special teams. Got to block a kick against Atlanta, which was very exciting as well. And because the Falcons were doing good, I blocked that field goal, and then it's all 49ers from that point on. So that felt pretty good. And,
well, by 1988, the face of the offensive line was beginning to change. Harris Barton was drafted in 87. Jesse Zapolo had recovered from his injury, and Guy McIntyre broke into the starting lineup, which, along with yourself, that was basically the core group for a number of years ahead. Tell us a little bit about that group and what it was like to play with those guys for all those years.
Yeah, it was really neat. I mean, because like you said, it's just a lot going on, getting to be a transition as far as some of the players. Because we played the first couple games. We go play Pittsburgh. We lose to them. We go play Cincinnati. And this is one of the greatest. When you got Joe Montana, Jerry Rice on your team, I mean, it's just, you just never give up. 5 seconds left in the game. Cincinnati just kicking our butt all day long. And 5 seconds left in the game. They got 4th and 1 on their own 39-yard line or somewhere. Maybe, 39-yard line. And so they have this big, massive offensive line. They go 4th and 1. They go for it. 5 seconds, they feel like they can run out the clock. Kevin Fagan, that guy drafted in the 3rd round, makes a quick tackle with 1 second left on the clock. We get the ball. Now think about that. 5 seconds left in the game. If they get the first down, the game's over anyway. And we get the ball. They put 3 guys on one side, and they run number 80 to the opposite side. And so everybody in the stadium thought they were going to throw it to, 3 guys in a bunch. And so Joe goes back to pass, and at this point, Bubba gets hurt in the game, so I come in and start playing. And Joe throws a bomb, and one-on-one Jerry Rice and the other 3 guys on the other side. Jerry Rice is over there by himself. The other guy never reacted to the play, and Jerry Rice jumps up and gets it. We win the game. And I was just like, that's the most miraculous thing I've ever seen, where we didn't have the ball. We had that 1 second. He come in, throw a jump ball to Jerry. Jerry jump up, get it. And then we tie the game with that. And then we can't find the other guy. We're missing a guy on the extra point to win the game. And then Bubba got hurt, and he comes hobbling in the game, gets in the game because he's our last lineman. We kick the extra point, win the game, and go home.
That's a great story, by the way, coming from a Bengals fan.
Yeah. Oh, and it happened it was just like they play us hard, and Bubba said this, they play us hard, but they always find a way to let us win in the end.
All right. Thanks for that final comment from Bubba, too.
Can I ask you, Mike, did this sound pretty accurate, everything he said?
I don't know, because, the 20 49ers from that team that have been on our show have all pretty much described it the same way.
Oh, yeah.
But 1988 started out as a difficult season for the Niners. You guys pulled together, made one of the best runs in NFL history.
Sure did.
Closing out with a win in Super Bowl 23. What was it that sparked that run?
I think, I hate to say this, it was the strike team, or I hate to say the scab team, but because look at this, we lose the first game to Pittsburgh. It's not really close. The second game, we're 1 second away from losing the second game. When we come back, we're maybe 4-1, we're out 4 games, so we're maybe 4-1, and we take it from that point on, and we get red hot, and we just take that momentum. We're 4-1, and then Bill Parcells kind of took it as a joke, and Bill Walsh, he prepared his team. And so we beat the Giants on a Monday night game, which we're not even there. So we beat the New York Giants on a Monday night game, which the strike guys beat them. We come back, we're 4-1, we get hot. We win. I think we missed one game that we didn't play. So it was maybe, what is that, 13-2 or something like that?
13-2 that year.
Right. And then, so we're red hot, number 1 offense, number 1 defense. And I can recall, and I started about 5 games that year, played well. Then I got hurt. Bubba came back in. And I recall, getting ready for the Minnesota Vikings. And we knew how tough and how fierce their defense was. Chris Dolman, Keith Millard. They had guys, an old Martin guy. And so they had a very tough Bubba Baker, and they were tough up front. But at the same time, I can recall number 1 offense, number 1 defense, which was a lesson of a lifetime. And guys were talking about, yeah, man, it'd be so cool. We'll go to the Super Bowl, and then we'll get all these tickets, and we'll just have a delightful time. And so we're talking about all of that stuff. And we get a lot of rain, and so practice is a little bit of a struggle. And we basically go out and blow the game. I mean, we turn the ball over time in and time out, kept turning it over. Joe he didn't have a good day because Bubba and Chris Dolman were battling it out over there, and Chris Dolman got to him a couple times. And Bill replaced Joe with Steve Young, and just so that he would have an active quarterback. He can move. He can get out of the pass rush. Steve Young almost bring us back, but eventually Minnesota, Anthony Carter, they basically threw the ball up to him. He can close his eyes, jump and get it, and run. And so they beat us, and then that ended our season that year.
Well, the following year was – it started off a little bit difficult. You had some early losses, and then 6-5. But you guys really pulled together and made one of the best runs in history, going out with a Super Bowl win over the Bengals. What was it that was able to really spark the run after you guys were 6-5 to go all the way?
Like you said, at 6-5, think about this. 6-5, and earlier I spoke about where, my coaches sat me down, and I never wanted that to happen again throughout my career. Joe Montana, the greatest quarterback of all time, in my opinion, it's Joe Montana 1 and Tom Brady 1A, and it's just like that. But at the same time, Joe Montana, the greatest quarterback ever, got set down for a couple games. Steve came in, was the starter. Then Steve gets hurt, and then Bill brings him back. And so 6-5 after a loss to our crosstown rivals, the Oakland Raiders. And it was as low in that building as it could get. And we had a meeting. Bill just gave it to the guys. And Ronnie Lott, all of the great veterans, stood up and had a meeting. We talked about, having focus and giving it our all-out effort. Randy Cross, some of the older guys on the team, and Randy was like, "This may be my last time, so let's put this together." And then we go out, we blow out the Washington Redskins. John Taylor have an incredible run back where he's fumbling with the ball, and I think he ran it back maybe 95 yards or so. And we blow them out. Everybody's playing incredible footballs. And then we go through the rest of the schedule the same way. And then Bill, we come up with a tough game at the end of the season against the Rams. Now, we beat the Rams, which we're heavily favored. We beat the Rams, the Giants get in the playoffs. So we somehow don't play well that game. You know, I mean, and that's when Phil Sims and, you know, he started saying on the Monday Night Football that the 49ers laid down like lazy dogs, and we didn't play well. The Rams killed us. We put a running back on Kevin Green a lot. He might have had 5 sacks in the first half. I mean, can't put a running back on Kevin Green over there. But the great thing about that, you know, we had played well. We had basically almost, you know, ran the table. And then we're looking up, and here we are. We just got stomped. And then we're playing Minnesota, the same team that put us out. And nobody on the team wanted to play Minnesota because what that pass rush did to us the year before. Well, that came the emergence of the so-called blindside tackle. And so I just happened to be the guy. And it was one-on-one against Chris Dolman. It was fighting every step of the way and toe-to-toe. And I can remember a lot of our coaches were nervous before the game. John McVay coming up, like, I hope you handle him. If you can handle that guy, we can win the game. And I knew this. And the first time I had played him, I basically gave up 1 sack. And I looked up, and Bill Walsh was showing me, like, you gave up 1 sack. But he only made 1 tackle the whole game. I thought, dang, the great Chris Dolman only made 1 tackle. And so one thing that was pretty famous in the book called The Blind Side that Bill Walsh expressed was he had a highlight film, and he showed that 1 bad play that I had. And he said, and which was embarrassing to me because a highlight film, you're supposed to watch highlights, not a bad play. And I watched it in front of the whole team, and he said, we can get this guy to make plays all day long, we'll win the game. And, you know, and what he was saying that we need you on every single play, not just 1 play off. And so I went out the next day and held Chris Dolman, the defensive player of the year, to a half tackle. And Joe and Jerry get hot. We're running up and down the field, and we beat them like maybe 41-9 or somewhere in that neighborhood. And we have an incredible day. And then we eventually go into Chicago, 17 degrees, minus 23 or 24 degrees below zero with the wind chill. The coldest day I think the 49ers ever played in. I mean, it was so cold that, you know, usually guys will run out on the field and say, is it cold out? And we're like, it is cold out there. And so we beat those guys 28-3 in Chicago. They were very intense and fierce defense. Joe Montana gave an inspirational talk, and we beat them. Next thing you know, we're getting ready for the Super Bowl down in Cincinnati.
All right, you talk about the Super Bowl. You were injured on the 3rd play. Had to be tough leaving the field that way. What do you remember about that day, and did it provide you more incentive to get back there?
I remember that, first of all, I called out, starting lineup. Like, man, everybody in my high school, everybody at Auburn is checking me out. So this is so exciting. I just want to play well. I want to play well. So I go out there, and I'm blocking, have a couple good plays early on, and then I'm blocking and protecting Joe's blind side. And right as I'm protecting, I hear something pop 3 times. Pow, pow, pow. I thought, my goodness, whatever that was or whoever that was, they are hurt. And I didn't realize, I guess my body went into a quick shock. Didn't realize it until I tried to get up, and I just couldn't stand up. And I was frustrated. And I even had the footage where I was slamming my head into the ground, just headbutting the ground because I knew that my day was over. And everybody back in my hometown and everybody back in my college town wouldn't have an opportunity to see me play. And so I was very disappointed. And also Merlin Olsen said that Steve Wallace was the guy that gave Joe Montana a great deal of comfort when he came back into the starting lineup. And the 49ers got hot, and then they went on to start winning a lot of games. And so he's been like a true blindside tackle, and which is so neat because you guys saw the Super Bowl this year, at least I felt like I earned the title of the blindside tackle, as along with a few other guys, opposed to giving it.
Sure did.
And you probably could do a better job today than what was done in that Super Bowl by either.
Oh, absolutely. And then our guys, and the 93-yard drive with Joe Montana coming into the huddle and telling a group of guys like there's giant candy in the end zone over there, and which I think helped the guys really relax. And then Joe was vintage Joe. He'd go back to pass, hit Jerry, hit Roger, hit Jerry again on a play that almost broke loose. We didn't make a block on it. Came back a few plays later to hit John Taylor to win the Super Bowl. And for me personally, I was just like, I've been knocked out, like Cincinnati, like we said earlier. I've been knocked out first round in high school. Auburn, we're the number 3 ranked team in the nation with Bo Jackson. Number 5 beats number 1 Nebraska. Texas lose number 2, and we still don't win a national championship. We come in
after you beat Auburn, beat Michigan 9-7 in the Sugar Bowl that year.
Yep. You guys are pretty in tune, and so for me, I thought I would never ever win a title or anything. It just wasn't going to be in the cards. It just wasn't, and I just broke down and started crying, and just was so thankful. Just like, thank you, God. Like, I just can't believe this happened. And it just, I knew from that point on that, I would be a champion for life, and I would never let that moment go. So when Joe Montana hit John Taylor on that last play, or that play to win the game-winning play, I was elated. I was jumping up and down with a broken leg in the back. Mr. Barlow kicking me about 10 times. He came in, we watched the game together, and we both forgot about a broken leg, and we were just so excited that the 49ers were going to win, and they did eventually win.
Yeah, it's always great to hear those stories, too.
Absolutely.
I'm a Bengals
well,
fan,
there again.
It was like one of the worst days of my life, by the way.
Yeah, you guys played so hard from start to finish. Great game plan with Sam Weiss. And we just had the woes as far as the field goes, but it's almost like when we cross midfield that you guys are like, that's Joe Montana, and then the rest is history.
Well, the difference in that game was Joe Montana against Boomer Esiason. There's no comparison between those two. Yeah,
Boomer didn't have a good day.
No. 11 for 26 for like 112 yards.
Wow. And Icky was rolling pretty good until Ronnie Lott hit him about midway through.
Well, that was a great game all around, because if you remember, you had David Fulcher with the shot on Roger Craig, too, that caused the fumble. I mean, that was a great football game all the way through.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, and Fulcher had some great plays. He sacked Montana early in the game. I mean, he was all over. Yeah. And Lewis Phillips dropped the ball, which could have ended it.
Yeah, and then Tim Crumry, breaks his leg, too, a few plays after you do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you, Cincinnati, again for another victory.
Oh, okay. I've had about enough of him. We should have got Bubba Paris on.
Yeah.
He'd have talked about it, too, probably, though, so what the hell. Go ahead, Matt.
What was the locker room like, during those years with the quarterback controversy with Montana and Young? I mean, you hear a lot about it, hear a lot of things. I know, like you said, that, Montana got benched for a couple games, and just seemed to, be talked about a lot. But what was it like for you being in that locker room during those times?
I think it was awesome because no one individual chimed in on Joe or Steve, whichever guy you wanted to be, and even including Jerry Rice. I mean, Jerry Rice is catching everybody's ball, and so it's just like if Bubba or Steve Wallace is your left tackle, Joe Montana wouldn't say. And so it's just, you have a job to go out and do, and the 49ers will pick the individual And the neat thing about that, because a lot of times you hear, like, the locker room is split. But, I mean, our locker room said nothing. I mean, there was no opinions made until a few years later where Charles Haley and some of those other guys, I think Dwight Clark, said that when Steve Young was trying to make a last-second drive against the Raiders a couple years later, that Joe Montana would have made that drive. And Dwight Clark was in the front office as a GM at that time. And then going back, a repeat year, going back to win the Super Bowl again was very exciting for me because I remember when we played the Rams and we beat those guys, we scored a lot of points, maybe 28-3, somewhere in that neighborhood, or 28-10, I can't recall. But when we beat the Rams in the NFC Championship, my good friend Kevin Green was like, you know what, it's our time, and we're going to do it because it's meant for us to do. It's our time, and we still played great, played a great game. Joe Montana got hot. Ronnie Lott had a last-second pass that he knocked down from Flipper Anderson. If Flipper Anderson catches that ball, you guys know the rest, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
That we're going to be down 10-0 in that game.
Yeah, he ran down.
Changed everything.
Yeah,
he sure did.
He came from the other side of the field to knock that down.
Yep, and when he knocked that pass down, I mean, we went on a rally, and you know how it is at Candlestick, like when we get on a hot roll and we'll score, then we'll cause a turnover and we'll score again, and next thing you know, you look up and the game is out of hand. And we're down, and the next thing you know, that's exactly what happened, and we're up 21-3 at halftime. And so I can remember after that game, I was so happy that it was a muddy, yucky day, and I was just making snow angels. I was because it was a chance to go back to the Super Bowl, and I thought that was my one-time chance ever. And so I was so elated about a second chance to go back that I was like, we got to do this. And then we go out and have an absolute perfect day except for an extra point. Yep.
All right, so we get to 1990. You guys came up a little short. Then 91 through 93, mainly the Dallas Cowboys were your nemesis.
Yeah.
Let's fast forward to 1994. What was that season like for you, and how did it feel to finally get past Dallas?
You know what? I'm going to throw something in there real quick through that Dallas little run right there. You know, I think one of the worst trades that we made or worst free agent guys that we let go was like Ronnie Lott. And it just hit me today. And I thought about how, like, Carolina Panthers let their great cornerback go, or he may be gone. Yeah, Josh Norman. And which I've been watching him. I watched them all this past year because playing against the Falcons, they kicked some butt. I mean, that guy challenged everybody. He challenged Beckham. He played well, and he's an outstanding player. You just can't let outstanding talent go. And so hopefully, because I'm pulling for that team. I mean, I like to see them get back. And I was thinking about that today, and I go, you know what? We let a guy by the name of Ronnie Lott go. And with his leadership, 3 of those rings that Dallas won, I'm pretty sure we'd have won 2 of those, and it would have been pretty nice. But with Ronnie Lott's leadership, when we let that go, that hurt us for a good while. And out of the 4 Super Bowls, 3 with Dallas and 1 with us, we finally got back, and it took us that long to recover from losing a guy like him. And then we eventually went on in 94 to win. But you were asking about 94.
Yeah, just what would it like to finally get past Dallas because they'd been your nemesis, and then a little bit about your Super Bowl experience that year.
Well, it was awesome. I mean, and mainly it started a couple years before where Steve Young and our offense was prolific. I mean, we'd go up and down the field, and And it was like if we got one first down. If we got one first down, we felt unstoppable. And that was the whole thing. We get a first down, we're on a roll. And we set great numbers, and we were kicking butt. And then the one thing we learned, even though having the best record, home field advantage, is that we were losing the turnover game. And so against Dallas the second time around, Merton Hanks and a lot of those guys played well for us to beat Dallas at home. Our defense really stood up to Dallas offense, and Merton Hanks had a couple picks in that first meeting during the regular season, and then we came back and finished with a great season. Lost to Minnesota last game. Everybody's pissed off at George Seifert about, not playing guys Monday Night Football, but we got in playoffs. We ran through Chicago Bears. Then Big D came to town, and we were making plays. We go down. Maybe we get a fumble early on or whatever. We line up and we punch it in, very intensely, and then we kick off to them again. They fumble on the kickoff return. We get it. We go in again. Boom. And we look up like, man, 11 minutes left in the first quarter. We're up 14-0. Like, man, this is awesome. And then you're trying to catch your breath. And then Troy Aikman goes back to pass, and he's looking for Michael Irvin. And Eric Davis comes off of another guy and picks the ball off and run it back. We're up 21-0 with maybe 10 minutes left in the first quarter, and it's like, this is crazy, this is wild. And then they made a heck of an effort to try to come back and get into the game, but we won that game. And I can remember Steve Young running around like, he felt like, getting the monkey off his back in a sense, getting that win, going to the Super Bowl. And the great thing about that, he had a bad day. And we beat Dallas. He had a bad day. He was very apologetic about it. And then in practice all week long, this guy was zipping. The ball rarely touched the ground. Everybody's catching the ball. And our last day of practice, I don't even think we dropped the pass. And everything, he was hitting everybody in stride, Jerry Rice, all our players. He was on the money with everybody. Mike Sherrod, Dessa Turner. We had all brand new crop of receivers in, and Eddie McCaffrey. A lot of these guys were playing extremely well. And I can remember the last practice, Mike Shanahan came up and normally gives this long speech about everything. We need to be ready for this, need to be ready for that, we need to be ready, we need to be ready. And he said, guys, after practice like today, I just want to say, you're ready. I don't have anything else to say. That's it. And everybody looked around at each other like, my God, we're ready. And I think at the start of that game, we set a record for the quickest 2 touchdowns back-to-back with Jerry Rice and Ricky Waters down the middle. And I was just happy because, for me personally, Phil Simms called me out the night before. I'm watching ESPN, and they had this show, which I think it was the NFL Edge or something like that. And Phil Simms was like, I think the 49ers are going to lose the game. They're an 18-point favorite. The reason they're going to lose the game is because Leslie O'Neal, the 6-time Pro Bowler, will dominate their left tackle, Steve Wallace. Wait, Steve Wallace? That's me, Steve Wallace. They said, I'll say it again, guys. Yeah, I'm going out on a limb. This is a big-time prediction. I looked at the film earlier in the year when the 49ers beat them, and Steve struggled against Leslie O'Neal. And so that 6-time Pro Bowler will dominate their left tackle. And my phone rang all night long, and I was just like, but I just knew I had prepared well, and I saw a few things. As long as I had my arms out of the way, I had him at an arm distance, I performed well. And Steve Young played an incredible game, threw 6 touchdown passes. Ricky Waters had a great. Deion Sanders, other members, Chris Dolman, Richard Dent. I mean, it just goes on and on. Charles Mann was a part, Tim Harris. I mean, we had guys. We had an all-star team that we had picked up throughout the year. With great honor, Ed DeBartolo picked up all these guys, and so we had an incredible day, 49-25, and I looked up at the end of the day, and I said, my God, Chris Doman. I mean, Leslie O'Neal doesn't have a tackle. So this particular day, after being called out for the guy that would cause the 49ers to lose, I said, man, this guy didn't have a tackle. So what does the guy do? I go back and look at ESPN. Like, if you're going to call me out like that, you know I got to go back and look at some ESPN. Right, guys?
Absolutely.
So I go back and look at ESPN, and then one of the guys come out and say that, like Tom Jackson, like Steve Young, what a game, the MVP. I mean, 6 touchdown passes. He's my MVP for the day. Then one of the other guys say, Jerry Rice, he's my MVP. Can you imagine a guy having 3 touchdown receptions with a separated shoulder and his arm totally bandaged? And Chris Berman, the boomer, said, my MVP is the guy you guys called out before the game and said that he would be the reason the 49ers would lose. He never gave up a tackle all day long to Leslie O'Neal, the 6-time Pro Bowler. We never heard his name. His name is not even on the paper. And he said, that's my MVP. And I was blown away because everybody back home was just like, dude, you won't believe what Chris Berman said about you. Like, and so that was my biggest. That's why I wear that ring. It's very symbolic to me, and when folks call you out, that usually I either try to shut the guy out, or that my focus was so deep that I was going to have a good game. So every single time I got called out like that, then Ronnie Lott once said Charles Haley would destroy me, and Charles Haley ended up with 1 tackle at a home game, even though they beat us in the playoffs. Charles only had 1 tackle, and it goes on and on. Whenever somebody said that, my concentration level just picked up tremendously. And so that's probably one of the reasons, like I said, I earned the blindside tackle title.
Well, you talked a little bit before about your relationship with Bill Walsh. But tell the listeners a little bit about the great Bob McKittrick and your relationship with him. Okay.
Bob was more challenging to me, and it was so funny. Bob would, at times call me. He's like, you don't have the athleticism. I can't figure you out. I can't figure you out. And you play against Lawrence Taylor, and you handle him, and you play well against him, and you do. I can't figure it out. I was like, Coach, what you not being able to figure out, I constantly want to prove everybody wrong. And so every time I played Lawrence Taylor, I just kind of took it as this is a basketball game. And I got great feet. He can't get around me if as long as I'm gonna give him the bull rush. If he bull rushes me, I'm gonna be screaming like, hurry up and throw the ball, Joe. Hurry up and throw the ball, Steve. But outside of that, I just felt like if we were playing one-on-one basketball, I could guard him. I could shield him away from getting to the basket. And so that was my approach. And then, but like I said, if he bull rushed me, more than likely he'd have a good chance of getting a sack. And so you got to give up something and make a player beat you with. If he beat me, he's not going to beat me with his best stuff. That's his quickness, because I'm as quick as they come. And then I played well, and so Bob would say, like, man, I can't figure it out. How are you constantly doing it? It's just my focus. And so one year I had 14 guys that either went to the Pro Bowl or made the Pro Bowl that year when we look back that I faced. And he was like, Steve, this is, like, I can't explain it. All-Pro after All-Pro after All-Pro, you don't let touch our quarterback. And that one year I gave up 1 sack. So, and it is incredibly hard because you're constantly like, I got to concentrate. This play could be the difference in the game. And if you got 1,700 plays or however many plays during the course of a year, and you let up on any one play, a great pass rusher like Bruce Smith, Richard Dent, Charles Mann, Chris Dolman, Charles Haley can knock the ball out of quarterback hands, sack him, knock the ball out, pick it up and run for a touchdown on any given play. And so my level of concentration was rather intense.
All right, so now you played a couple more years after the win at Super Bowl 29. You wore the concussion shell over your helmet, one of the first to raise awareness on the concussion issue. How did that all come about, and did that lead to your early retirement?
I think it hurt me that, other teams wouldn't pick me up. And then the negative thing about it was back in those days, you go to the sideline, and I was looking at a game the other day, and I go, man, my God, that's exactly what they did. You get declared, you get an evaluation real quick, and it's either minor, you get, that guy only has a minor concussion, go back in the game, or it's a major concussion. And so what happened, which I think is what kind of hurt me going to, Pro Bowl quite a bit, if you got 3 games in a season missed, I missed 2 Atlanta Falcons games, which are your division foes, rivals that you go against. And then I had another game against Tampa Bay, which I was pretty much delirious, like not even there from a mental standpoint, that we played Atlanta the week before. Back in those days, if you can recall, they used to pitch the ball back to Dion, and they pitch the ball, pitch it around and try to get it to the right guy and get it in his hand. And so Atlanta, Steve threw one of his few picks for that year. He throws a pick, and I'm running after a guy, and I go, if they throw it back one more time, I'm going to catch it. And so right when I got ready to hit a cornerback, he tossed it back. I snatched the ball out of the air, and I was trying to get ready to fake because at this time I got possession of the ball, and I'm ready to make a fake, and a guy catches me from behind and slams me into the candlestick infield, and it knocks me out cold. I'm out cold, so that's a major concussion. And then the next week, I play that game, and I knew I shouldn't have played because I really don't recall much happening or whatever, and I had a bad game. And so, if you think about a game I didn't play but a quarter, then the next game I play a bad game, and this is just after I just reached the Pro Bowl, and then a game earlier in the year against the Rams, get a concussion, get kneed in the head. Then we go back to Atlanta, and when Dion declared this is my house, I make a perfect block on a screenplay, block a guy tried to jump over me and kick me in the head. I got knocked out on that. And the thing is that I think most of the players are complaining about is that with, the NFL hiding all of the knowledge and, constantly denying and saying that, that's not true. Concussions are not related to dementia. It's not related to ALS. It's not related to Alzheimer. And so it's not related to any of those. And then to come back later and find out that, it could be a long-term lasting effect. And so the rest of the league, it wasn't fair to the coaches or really to the doctors on the sideline. When they gave an evaluation, they say, you got a minor concussion, Steve Wallace, get back in the game, see what you can do. And then nowadays, that's appalling. Nobody would ever send a guy back in the game with a concussion and just see if you can figure it out, see if you can shake the cobwebs out. And then I kept trying to play. And the main reason it pisses us off is that while they were denying the knowledge, they could have established a protocol to say, hey, these guys should sit out at least a week. We can't put a guy back in the game, whether it's a major concussion or a minor concussion. We can't put these guys, and they were putting us back in the game. And, we don't know any difference. We're football players. And at that point, everybody's ignorant to the fact. Coaches are ignorant to the fact because all of the knowledge is held back. And so that's the one thing that we're most mad about is that by denying the knowledge and holding back the knowledge for 6 or 7 years, guys are getting hurt worse.
How did the the shell that you wore over the helmet, how did that originate?
Oh, it's a pro cap. I saw one other guy, Mark Kelso, with
Buffalo.
Yeah, he had it on, and then maybe a couple weeks later, I said, man, we used to laugh about it because, like, who's that guy with that big head? And that's how it looks. And so I tried it out for a day, and I got so many side cracks and jokes. I was like, I don't want to wear this thing. And then I remember going home, my wife's telling me, well, do you want to know your kids or remember your kids when you get old? So the second day I came back and wore it, our equipment guy got it to me, old Bronco, he got it to me, and I started wearing it. I felt comfortable with it. And I know at least once or twice I had a pretty serious collision. And then I was just myself, and I've totally felt like the NFL should have invested into this helmet, or at least taken a stronger look at it, because another guy in one of those other leagues wore it. He said he never had a problem with it, because how it's designed, it's a rubber shell, and it's just supposed to absorb the contact, and so you don't feel it as like that plastic going, banging so hard and so intense. And so it's like a rubber shell that's supposed to absorb that contact. When you go bang another guy, then it's absorbing the blow.
All right. Well, we're about out of time. I want to thank you for coming in. It was great to talk to you. It was great to hear the stories, except for like that 87 Bengals story in the Super Bowl 23.
Yeah.
But, but Matt, you got any final words for Steve?
Okay. Well, I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. I hope you guys learned a lot about Steve Wallace and other listeners out there as well. How these stories is sometimes it's just fun to share.
All right. Well, you have to come back again sometime. I'm sure Matt's got 100 more questions for you anyways.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
Well, all right. Thanks a lot,
appreciate
Steve.
you coming by very much.
Absolutely. Okay.
All right, guys. Remember, check us out at grillingtruth.net. Check us out on Google Play Music, Twitter, @GrillingTruth. Check us out on our Facebook page, Spreaker, Stitcher, iTunes. So, for Matt Andruscavage, Steve Wallace, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.